Today, I want to share with you an article on Medium. I just read this and I think it's a perfect article that describes all the malaise that we see in the cryptocurrency market. And I think it described many of the problems, many of the issues that we as crypto investors and speculators encounter for the past 2 years. The title of the article is called Crypto Collusion Had a Price. And I'm going to include the URL in the description of this video. And the article goes about $118 million has been raised via ICOs in Q1 of 2019. Over 58 times less than 60.9 billion, the amount raised a year earlier in 2018. That's according to Wall Street Journal. Now, then it goes on to see about why ICOs were a terrible value proposition, and it says that collusion, fraud, misinformation, and pump and dump schemes meant nearly half of all ICOs in 2017 and 2018 failed to raise any funds, while another 40% raised more than $1 million each. And they found that as many as 890 token sales did not raise any fund at all. And by contrast, according to the report, 743 token sales were able to reach the $1 million mark. So more than half of ICOs, they couldn't raise any money. So basically the point of this whole article is saying that the crypto collusion actually had a price. And it goes on to say that Bitcoin is still very controversial. And that is true. If you talk to people in the crypto community, after 10 years of the inception of Bitcoin, it is still regarded by public, a lot of, a big portion of the public as scams. And you couldn't blame them because indeed there were many scam projects in the height of the bubble of 2017 and 2018. And that in turn had ruined many investors' pockets and their confidence in this space. And in turn, that has destroyed any credibility in cryptocurrencies because many of the projects are run by scam artists, by swindlers. And the article goes on to say, over the last few years, there has been an increasing interest in using deliberately engineered economic incentives and mechanism design to align behavior of participants in various contexts. Basically, it's saying that the communities of these cryptocurrencies, they're colluding to rip off investors. Economic innovation must occur to enable public blockchains to scale, not the social effect of crypto tribe hacking its own future for short-term profit. And I think that just hit the nail head on. It's the people currently in the marketplace that's ripping any new players trying to enter into this space, ripping them off, scamming them, and draining the new blood for a short-term gain, which I think is very short-sightedness, and it's just outright fraud. It's fraudulent. Crypto economic standards must encompass everything central banks are doing with blockchain, walled garden internal stablecoins, and all that we've come to see as cryptocurrencies and digital assets. Too many startups use the blockchain hype cycle to their advantage for fraudulent goals. What's worse, collusion and inside trading and market manipulation was and is rampant in the crypto markets. That's true. People in the crypto space for the past 2 years, just personal experience, that the market is heavily manipulated, and there are a lot of insider trading and collusion, a lot of wash trading as well. And that has destroyed confidence of investors in this space. And it's rather pointless talking about decentralization when the same pyramid scheme of ownership of the assets can be found in crypto. The same fake traffic on markets and lack of diversity of holdings, the same wealth inequality personified. Another valid point, because the ethos of Bitcoin at its inception, we remember that Bitcoin was born in the trough, in the height of the 2008 and 2009 credit crunch, the last recession, and the vision of Satoshi, whoever Mr. Nakamoto is, his vision is to find a trustworthy system that's alternative to central banks all over the world. And it did that in the beginning, but the powerful players came in and dominated this space, the powerful miners from China, and they begin to fleece their flock. They begin to defraud investors, and they end up to become the evil that they purported to try to replace. And I would argue that they became even worse than central banks. I trust the Fed much more than Bitmain, for example, than Bitfinex. These are outright scams, and they're not even trying to hide that fact anymore. At least the central banks all over the world, the Fed, the European Bank, Bank of China, Bank of Japan, at least they try to be credible. At least they try to protect investors' assets, to not inflate their monetary base too much. The crypto communities, the cryptocurrency projects, they don't have that veneer of credibility. They're even worse than central banks, which they purported trying to replace. Ethereum or consensus can pretend they have invented something like decentralized governance in how they are run, but they will end up as hierarchical as any company out there. That's true. The DAOs are great, but they don't always work. They don't always protect you from collusion, manipulation, fraud, and essential deception that has driven us to crypto winter. That is very true. And that is why I believe the next big project is going to be decentralized exchanges. Because, whether you're talking about Binance, Bitfinex, or even Coinbase, these are centralized platforms. And they are rampant with price manipulation, with wash trading, fake volumes. And many of them, they defraud people's funds. They pretend they get hacked or their founder, died in India somewhere. And to me, these are just exit scams, trying to defraud people of their hard-earned cash. And this cannot be going on if we want to make decentralization mainstream, like internet did in the 90s. Credibility and trust has to be restored into the space, and decentralized exchanges must be a necessary step to accomplish that goal. But right now, the current blockchain technology cannot facilitate decentralized exchanges. I believe the first decentralized exchanges, the only decentralized exchanges that can work, function properly, has to be developed on Hashgraph. Many of the incentives that crypto utilized to gain communities and investors have essentially failed. They have backfired in a big way. Many crypto economic mechanisms can be manipulated through collusion between network members who want to cheat the system. Nothing trustworthy necessarily here. Time to move on. That's true. There's no trust, absolutely no trust in this space. In the blockchain space, mechanism design first and foremost provides the security for the blockchain itself, encouraging miners or proof-of-stake validators to participate honestly, have been abused in community after community, and we know that from experience. Yes, investors, they think that Tron was going to be good. They got burned when investing in Tron. They think Neo was good. They got burned by Neo. Same thing with the bigger ones, Ethereum, Ripple, same thing, being burned over and over again by market manipulators. Even some of the biggest communities are essentially based on deception. That's right. From the outdated Neo to colluding EOS to spammy Tron. I think spammy is the best thing anybody can say about Tron. The article was not perfectly written. I mean, there are many, mistakes. There are many grammarly mistakes in the article, but that doesn't defeat the truth that the article is conveying here. And something has to change in order for decentralization to go mainstream. And I think right now the only solution is Hashgraph. And I say that not because I root for that, I'm part of the Hashgraph community and I root for Hashgraph, but because they have consistently delivered on their promises over the past 2 years since the project's inception. And it was run by people who has tremendous integrity, and it was run by people who have long-term vision and who have the guts to stick to that vision. It's the only solution to solve the lack of trust conundrum in the decentralization space. And that's why I want to share this article with you. Hashgraph has nothing in common with any of the cryptocurrency projects, just like Facebook had nothing in common with Friendster and MySpace, because it is coming. It is going to revolutionize the internet, and it's going to build the trust layer of the internet. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.